Hello and welcome back to Azure Terraformer. This is another coffee break series that I do where you, my audience, treats me to a cup of coffee. I sit down and talk about whatever you want me to talk about. And today is brought to you by Rowan. This is his round 2, coming back for more. He said, I finally thought of my question, commented on the last video, so now I got to go look at the comment in the last video. Rowan, come on, you're making me work for this here, man. Says, great video, thanks for the channel shout out. Sorry I didn't get back to you with a question. I have however been inspired by this video to come up with, my question is, how do you inspire your team members to be more autonomous in their work? It's quite a brain buster, Rowan. Thank you for the question and thank you for the coffee. A little bit of a Belgian dip going on there. Well, how do you make a team autonomous? Well, I mean, my first reaction is get out of the way, right? Don't be a micromanager. Let the team step up. If they feel like you're gonna nanny them and do everything for them, they're never gonna step up. And so, I think the most important thing as a manager or as a lead, I think manager has different implications, but as a lead, your first objective is to be a facilitator and not a dictator. I think the folks that have reported to me throughout the years might have seen a change in my mindset of this over my years and experience as a manager. Like maybe I started out more of a dictator. I don't know, but I don't think anybody becomes a manager is like instantly ready to be a manager. So I think we kind of figure it out as we go along, and mistakes will be made naturally. I think recognizing that especially in a technology setting, your primary function should be to get out of the way, to let people do it. But the question is, if you get out of the way and then everything falls apart, what happens, right? I mean, so it's a little bit of a cop-out, but it's, you can only get out of the way until the team is fully empowered and able to do what they need to do. So you're going to have to be doing blocking and tackling behind the scenes that they won't ever know that you're doing. Keeping noise away from the team, from maybe stakeholders or other executive sponsors that want to meddle in ways that will be disruptive to the team. Getting the team access to resources that they need, whether it's people or tools or technologies, software licenses, but it's usually getting time from other people within an organization that you have to negotiate with whoever is kind of the gatekeeper to their schedule. So that's part of like empowering your team, enabling them to be autonomous, is like opening up, unlocking those resources for them so that they don't have to go navigate that themselves. I also think like autonomy changes depending on your level, like your level of maturity. You have to have different levels of expectations depending on somebody's point in their career, right? Like what I would expect from a technology executive, right? Program manager, a solution architect or a lead is going to be radically different than like a junior developer, naturally, right? So the level of autonomy is going to vary. I do feel like there is, in terms of the IC space, there's it's relatively easy to break down, smaller and smaller chunks for an individual contributor to work on, and like what they can do and what they can't do based on their skills and like their past track record. But I think there is, like, when you get into team management and gauging, how much autonomy somebody can handle, in an organization, in an organizational leadership role, then it becomes a little bit more tricky, in that I think there's this shelf, like this cliff, right, that you hit when you can really, I think somebody's described this as like kind of grab the bull by the horn, so to speak, and like really drive something, to the end. And I think this would be a really like good thing to strive for, is to be recognized as somebody who can be that person that grabs the bull by the horns and drives something to completion. It tends to put you in situations like at the right time, people will turn to you with the opportunity to go make that happen, because they have that trust. They know that you're that type of person that can go attack a problem and see it through to the end. So once that trust is there, then the autonomy is granted, right? It's like, yeah, like I know that that Amit, or I know that Sam, or Kimberly can like go take this and just knock it out of the park, and like I don't have to really check in and like on a regular basis. And this takes time. Like you need to build that relationship with that person, with those people over time, in order to build that trust. And kind of, I think there's kind of this probationary period, right, where probably 60 to 90 days, where you're given enough rope to go off and like do, and people are watching to see like what you do with that. And if you are a rainmaker and you make stuff happen, or if there really hasn't been a lot of progress. So then they have to swoop in, and they now know like we need to kind of hyper focus here and figure out like what the log jam is, right? Whether that's resources that you need access to that you don't have access to, or whatnot. It doesn't really matter. But at that point, it's like, well, that reputation of being the person that grabs the bull by the horns is kind of diminished, right? Because like maybe they should have raised their hand to let me know that they were kind of log jammed. So it's a continuous process of kind of judgment, not in a bad way, but in a natural human way, judging, how somebody is handling that autonomy that you grant them. But in order to do that, you have to give them space. And in that space, they can either thrive or they can struggle. And maybe they're not ready for that amount of responsibility or scope that you put onto their plate. Another approach that I've taken personally is, and I've talked about this on my channel before, but like argument. I don't think argument is a bad thing. In fact, I try and encourage argument. Now, when I say argument, I don't mean fighting. I mean sorting out ideas in search of the truth. And sometimes that means you have to have dissenting viewpoints. Usually that means you have to have dissenting viewpoints that you have to kind of ferret out. And so facilitating a place where argument can take place, I think is really important. And also facilitating a safe environment where people feel like they can argue with you, right? About, whether the right course of action is being taken or not. And I would say that would be, I think that is the place where I feel like I've succeeded, is when I feel like my direct reports feel like they can have an argument with me, and it's okay, and we're going to be okay. And we're not fighting. We're not mad at each other. We're sorting out ideas. We're sorting out the best ideas. And the fact that they feel empowered to be able to come to their supervisor, their manager, with a dissenting viewpoint, I think you've won at that point. Right? You're winning. You're absolutely winning, because you don't want a bunch of yes men that are just so scared of you that they can't tell you no, or they can't tell you it's not possible and here's why, right? Of course, you gotta specify, here's why. You can't just say no. You have to give your reasons. That's the whole point of argument, right? And it very might well come out that, the arguments have been made, and maybe it turns out that they happen to, not see something that you were aware of. But having that argument, having that like cleansing process of ideas, like helps, resolve those gaps in knowledge, those gaps that we naturally make whenever we make assumptions, right? They're really put to the test when you have an argument. And so this sounds really combative and things but it really isn't. It's a beautiful thing. Like when you can get, like-minded individuals that are, bound together with a common purpose that can have an argument without, being at each other's throats. It's a wonderful thing. This is going to help you avoid like hive mind, groupthink, situations where there's 100% dependency on your word. Like you do not want to be Moses with the tablets coming down from the mountain. You want people to be able to challenge you, because that shows that they have agency and they are truly autonomous. So facilitating that virtuous environment where people and your team can have arguments and, in a healthy way to sort out the truth and the best path forward, I think is critical to achieving autonomy within a team. Anyways, Rowan, thanks for the brain buster, and thank you for the coffee. Until next time, amigo, cheers.